Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanakam Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadato sankirtyanaika pritaro kamalayatakshav Vishwambarau dvijavarau yugadharmapalo vande jagat priyakarau karunavataro Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvashe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Nityanandam Aham Naumi Sarvanandakaram Param Harinama Pradam Devam Avaduta Shiromanim Chaitanya Krishna Chaitanya Gauranga Dvijanayaka Yatinam Dandinam Chaiva Nyasinam Shiromanim Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna. So I welcome all the devotees to ISKCON Boston on this most auspicious occasion, the appearance day of the most magnanimous Sri Nityananda Prabhu. We are very grateful and honored to be here and serve all of you today by speaking some words from the scriptures, again on the basis of the acharyas in the disciplic succession. And I just hope and pray to all the assembled Vaishnavas, please bless and shower your best wishes so that the right words come at the right time in the right spirit. It is described that Sri Balaramji is the first expansion from Krishna. And the scriptures reveal that this personality called Balaram is totally non-different from Krishna. Some places he is described as the Sandhini Shakti, or the existence potency of Krishna. Some places it's described that he appears before Krishna. Some places it's described that he is the fountainhead of Guru Tattva. But the scriptures unanimously proclaim that although he's the first expansion from Krishna's body, he's totally non-different. Sri Balaramji possesses all the opulences, all the qualities, all the potencies, everything that Krishna possesses in equal, unlimited, inconceivable manner. But Srila Prabhupada explains that there is a difference. What is that difference? Principle, there are two differences between Krishna and Balaram. Srila Prabhupada explains that the first difference between Krishna and Balaram is their complexion. Krishna has this beautiful, wonderful, inexplicable complexion of freshly formed monsoon clouds. Megha Shyam. Yes, Krishna has this bluish black complexion. And Balaramji has this complexion of a newly formed spring cloud, white complexion. That's the first difference. The second difference between Krishna and Balaram is their mood. Krishna and Balaram are non-different in their potency, in their prowess, in their ability, in all the qualities, in all the opulences, in the beauty that they possess, in the strength that they possess, the fame that they have, the renunciation that they possess, the wealth that they possess, totally equal. But there's one fundamental difference in the mood between Krishna and Balaram. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead in the mood of accepting service, while Sri Balaramji is the supreme personality of Godhead in the mood of offering service. The Supreme Lord manifests as Balaramji, the first expansion to teach us how to express love through service. And it is inconceivable the way Balaram does it. This Balaram comes every yuga, every millennium with the same spirit of service. In Treta Yuga, he appears as Lakshmana. And we know the story in Treta Yuga in Ramayana. When Ramchandra was banished, he was banished for 14 years. The scriptures reveal that a chaste wife should follow the husband. So there was every reason why Mother Sita followed the footsteps of Ramchandra. Yes? But there is no scriptural injunction which proclaims that the brother has to follow the older brother's footsteps. So when Ramchandra was banished to the forest for 14 years, Lakshmana could have as well said yes. The thorn is removed. If he was in Kali Yuga, he wouldn't still do it. But people in Kali Yuga generally would do it. Oh, the older brother has been banished. On the face, I'm really sorry. But in the heart, now he's gone. All the name, the fame, the prestige, the wealth, the position is all mine. But here is Lakshmana. He's ready to follow the footsteps of Ramchandra, inflicting austerity, penance, and pain on the self, on purpose, on his own sweet free will. He puts on tree barks. He has a matted hair, doesn't wear slippers, eats roots, fruits, and herbs for 14 years, doesn't sleep at night. During the day, he serves Sita and Ram, and during the night, he guards Sita and Ram. No break. During the day, he gets water for them. He makes thatched huts for them. He's ready to have his feet cut and bleeding by being hurt by the pebbles and the thorns on the street, but he will make way for Sita and Ram so that they don't get hurt. And at night, when they're sleeping, he's ready, guarding them with his bow and arrow. This is Lakshman. Now, when he comes in the next yuga, Dwapar Yuga, as Balaram, what does he do? First of all, he manifests himself as Vrindavan, the holy abode, the land which helps all the pastimes. It is described, Lord Balaramji expands as Vrindavan in such a wonderful, incredible fashion that sometimes when baby Krishna is afraid of a demon and the demon is coming closer and the distance between Krishna and the demon is very less, Balaramji as the Dham expands his body, because of which the distance between Krishna and the demon increases. And sometimes when Krishna is missing Mother Yashoda and is far away from his house and wants to reach home quickly, Balaramji as Vrindavan contracts, because of which the distance between Krishna and Yashoda reduces, and in a few steps, Krishna reaches home. Inconceivable. He serves Krishna in all rasas. He is ready to become Krishna's shoes. He is ready to become Krishna's peacock feather, Krishna's jewels, Krishna's clothes, Krishna's flute, Krishna's stick, the flower garland around Krishna's neck, Krishna's bed, all the paraphernalia which serves Krishna. He is ready to massage Krishna's feet and sometimes gets massage from Krishna, as portrayed here. Sometimes as the elder brother, he is ready to chastise Krishna. Why did you eat dirt? I will complain to Mother Yashoda. Why did you eat dirt? I will get you punished. Why did you steal? Why did you break the butter pot? And in the spirit of conjugal love, he approaches and serves Radha and Krishna as Radharani's younger sister by the name Anangamanjari. So in this way, he serves Sita and Ram in Treta Yuga as Lakshman. He serves Krishna and all the residents in Vrindavan as Balaram. And what to speak of his service in Vaikuntha, when the Supreme Lord manifests his form as the four-handed Mahavishnu, and on whom everything animate and inanimate rests, when that Lord desires to take rest, it is Balaramji who expands as the serpent Ananta. And he coils around and he makes such a wonderful, comfortable mattress. You haven't slept on such a mattress, trust me. Nor have I. But it's given in the scripture. So wonderful. It is described when Mahavishnu feels hot, Ananta goes cold. And when Mahavishnu feels cold, now he doesn't feel cold, but this is inconceivable. He feels cold and Ananta goes hot. He serves Mahavishnu as Ananta. He serves Ramchandra as Lakshmana. He serves Krishna as Balaram. And when this Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the origin of all origins, the master of all masters, the creator of all creators, the source of everything that exists, desires to enter this degraded age of Kali Yuga out of his sweet will. Nobody forces the Supreme Lord to come. The Supreme Lord desires out of his sweet, merciful nature. He's an embodiment of unlimited compassion. And he desires to enter the age of Kali Yuga in the most wonderful, in the most magnanimous, in the most sweetest, in the most munificent, wonderfully compassionate form as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This direct first expansion, Balaramji, who is non-different from the Supreme Lord, manifests in the spirit of the perfect servant as Nityananda. And we are celebrating his appearance day. This is inconceivable. We insignificant, 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair is our size. We are insignificant, we are infinitesimal. And we, who are eternally servants of God, have only one desire, that is to enjoy and enjoy and enjoy. And that Supreme Lord, who is actually the enjoyer, has only one desire, that is to serve, and to serve. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is teaching us. He is the source of everything animate, inanimate, material, spiritual, everything that exists and everything that doesn't exist. He's the source, he's the cause, he's the medium, he's the creator, he's the maintainer, he's the destroyer, and he's the effect. He is everything. He has everything, he possesses everything, he can create anything, and he can destroy anything. And he has only one desire. That is to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the most loving, unconditional, uninterrupted mood of transcendental service. That's all. If Nityananda Prabhu was asked to pick one thing in the whole of existence for time immemorial, the whole of eternity, he would pick loving service to Sri Chaitanya and all of his associates, because that is the only reality that exists. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he appeared around 12-13 years before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very beautiful, wonderfully merciful land called Ekachakra. How many of us have been to Ekachakra? How many of us have been to Mayapur or Navadvip, which is the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya? A little more, okay. How many of us have been to Vrindavan? Okay. And how many of us would really want to go to Mayapur and Ekachakra, the birthplace of Chaitanya and Nityananda? Please raise your hand. And those who haven't raised your hand, what am I supposed to understand? Do we all want to reach there? Today? Do we all want to go there today? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And the good news is you have to take no flight. You have to pay no money. You have to face no traffic, no security, no customs, nothing. The Acharyas explain transcendental sound vibration is the fastest, surest, and quickest means to reach Krishna. It's possible you can physically go to the Dham and mentally be in Boston. That's not considered. But on the contrary, you can be physically in Boston and mentally in the Dham, and that's wonderful. Are we all ready to enter the Dham? I don't think so. I don't think so. That's it, only one Haribol. Nitai Gaur Premanande Haribo. So in the beautiful land of Ekachakra, Nityananda Prabhu appeared around 12-13 years before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he displayed wonderful pastimes. In fact, I was strictly told to stop at 6 because of my bad habit of always crossing the time. So therefore, I had to pick a certain section of the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita that I'm supposed to focus on. If every single segment I start speaking on, the class might probably go up to Mangalarti tomorrow. So we'll just skim through some portions of Nityananda Prabhu's life and then focus on the point that we have picked for today. In his childhood, Nityananda Prabhu, he used to crawl. So wonderful. And it is described, Nityananda Prabhu's eyes were like the blossoming white lotus. Those were the eyes which were filled with Krishna Prema. The eyes went almost up to the ears. Nityananda Prabhu's nostrils made the sesame flower feel ashamed. He had his lips which were like the freshly cut crimson red fruit. And the jewels on his body were not decorating his body, but his body was decorating the jewels. It is described Nityananda Prabhu always loved to wear a blue color dhoti. And we know that. Nityananda Prabhu always loves to wear a blue color dhoti. The Acharyas explain why. Does anyone know why? Yes. Yes. It is described Nityananda Prabhu used to pick the cloth, that cloth which reminds him of the complexion of Krishna. And when he used to crawl, Vrindavan Das Thakur and Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that the residents of Ekachakra felt as if a ball of cotton is floating with the breeze. And the best part about Ekachakra was all the residents loved Nityananda Prabhu more than their own children. This is not possible. You cannot love anyone more than your child. I'm speaking theoretically, no experience. But it is described Nityananda Prabhu's beauty was inconceivable. He was like the darling sweetheart of everyone in Ekachakra. They forgot their children, but they went towards Nityananda. This Nityananda Prabhu sometimes used to enact the pastimes of Krishna. One friend used to become Putana, and Nityananda Prabhu used to jump on his chest and act as if he's sucking his life air out. In another instance, he would act as if he's Lakshmana. At another instance, he would act like a cowherd boy, like Balaram. And the residents in Ekachakra used to ask Nityananda, how do you know these pastimes? And Nityananda used to smile and say, they are my pastimes. You don't know, but they are my pastimes. And the nature of Yoga Maya, the illusory energy, is such that the residents never understood what Nityananda meant. This Nityananda Prabhu, he grew up so wonderfully in Ekachakra. And on the day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, Nityananda Prabhu roared because the Lord of his life had manifested in this age. Very soon after that, a very unfortunate situation occurred. A sannyasi, he came all the way and stayed at the house of Hadai Pandit and Padmavati Devi, the parents of Nityananda. And while leaving, when Hadai Pandit, the father, asked the sannyasi, what is the alms that I can offer you? The sannyasi smiled and he said, there is only one thing that you can give me. The things that you have, I don't want. And the things that I want, you don't have. Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha ki jai. Parama Karuna Nitai Gaur Chandra Bhagwan ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanand. He said, the only alms I ask for is your son, Nitai. I travel everywhere. I'm a Parivrajaka Acharya. I just wander everywhere. I need an assistant, and your son is the perfect assistant. And it is described against Hadai Pandit and Padmavati's will, the sannyasi really wanted Nityananda. Hadai Pandit said, Nita, I cannot do anything. I can come with you. I will serve you. I know everything. He doesn't know anything. He's just a 12-year-old son. He cannot help you. I can come and help you. He said, no, I want your son. If not for your son, I don't want anything. And finally, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati Devi, with a heavy heart, agreed to give that sannyasi the alms. And on a very fateful day, the sannyasi left with Nityananda out of Ekachakra, step by step, moment after moment, second after second. And as Nityananda was stepping out of Ekachakra, the whole of Ekachakra came. They were crying. It is described their bodies were melting in separation. The trees were dying, the birds were dying. Everybody's situation was like the calf without the mother, like the newborn without the mother. They were crying. It's described there were ponds and rivers of tears. And as Nityananda Prabhu left Ekachakra, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati Devi stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and they continued their life. Padmavati Devi asked Hadai Pandit, why are you not dying? Your son has left you. You should die. Look at Dasharath. Dasharath's son left. He died in separation. You have no love for Nityananda. That's why you're alive. And Hadai Pandit said, it is easy to die once than to die every moment. Dasharath died once and there ends his separation. I am dying every moment in separation from my Nityananda. And my worry is, if Nityananda returns and he finds his father dead, how much pain will be there in his heart? And I don't want to cause him any pain. In this way, after a few months, fasting, spiritually and materially, in separation from Nityananda, the fire of separation consumed the lives of Hadai Pandit and Padmavati Devi, and they left their bodies chanting the names of Nityananda. Nityananda Prabhu traveled with this sannyasi for a long time. He went to the length and breadth across India. He went from Kanyakumari to Badrikashram. He went from Pandharpur in the west to Puri in the east. He met with Lakshmipati Tirtha. He met with Madhavendra Puri. He came to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, Nityananda Prabhu was waiting for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to start the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna, which is the Yuga Dharma. Nityananda Prabhu waited and waited and waited and waited. He used to jump into the Yamuna in the mood of Balram. And he stayed in a place called as Shringarvat, which is today called as Nityanandavat, because that is the place where Nityananda stayed. And Nityananda Prabhu used to jump into the Yamuna and look around and say, Krishna, Krishna. And then realize, well, I'm not Balaram. I'm Nityananda this time. And as soon as Nityananda Prabhu got to know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had started the Nam Sankirtan movement, Nityananda Prabhu left. He went straight to Navadvip and met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Nandanacharya's house called as Ishodhyan. Can we imagine the most merciful Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his most munificent form, as dazzling and bright like the sun, standing as Gauranga. And the same Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spirit of the perfect servant, as soothing and calm and peaceful as millions of moons in the form of Nityananda, face to face. They embraced each other, bathed each other in ecstasy, in their tears. And that was the beginning of the downpour of eternal ecstasy. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, you should go to every town and village. You should go and knock at every door. And you should meet with every person whom you see and instruct them to chant the names of Krishna. You should tell them to worship Krishna. You should tell them to preach about Krishna. Give these instructions and make the whole world Krishna conscious. So Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, they left, taking this instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on their head. And Nityananda Prabhu used to go and knock at every door. Door after door after door. He would knock at the door and the person would come out. And Nityananda Prabhu used to fall at their feet and say, please chant the name of Krishna. Please chant the name of Krishna. Please worship Krishna. Please spread the glories of Krishna. Krishna is your mother. Krishna is your father. Krishna is the treasure of your heart. Serve Krishna, surrender to Krishna, and make your life sublime and successful. Most of them used to look at Nityananda, who looked like a Sonara Parvat, a golden mountain, and their heart used to melt in ecstasy. And they used to take to this process of loudly chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But then there were some owners and some people behind the doors who were envious, who were lusty, who were puffed up nonsense people. They were totally envious because they never got an entrance into the Sankirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the house of Srivas. So when Nityananda Prabhu used to approach, they used to criticize him, swear filthy words at him, blaspheme him. Some of them used to kick him. Some of them used to whip him. Some of them used to beat and use their fists to punch him. And this most merciful Nityananda Prabhu used to fall on his hands and knees, and with 5 streams of tears down his eyes, wetting his cheeks, used to fall and roll at the dust of their lotus feet, telling them, I, Nityananda, is ready to sell myself as your eternal slave, only if you chant the name of Krishna. This is the only alms that I am asking for. I am an avaduta. I am a renunciant. I am a sannyasi. But I am not asking the alms of rice and wheat and chapati. Mukhe hari bol bhai ei matra bhiksha chai. Please chant the name of Krishna. This is the only thing I beg. He whose partial expansion as Mahavishnu can create everything in one exhalation and can destroy everything in one inhalation. He who's the creator of even Brahma, who is the secondary creator of everything. That original, most powerful Supreme Personality, Nityananda, is coming down to beg from his own servants and from people who are envious. Nityananda Prabhu never ordered anyone. He begged them. He was promising to sell himself at their lotus feet only if they took the names of Krishna. Some of them used to say, you go away, we have no time. But Nityananda Prabhu was the embodiment of forgiveness, of tolerance, of humility, and unbelievable compassion. As he was preaching, there was a big crowd gathering in the middle. And there's so many people. And Haridas and Nityananda, who were preaching partners, they came together and they said, what is this? What is going on? So some villagers said, oh, look inside. Inside that crowd are two dacoits by the name Jagai and Madhai. What were their names? Yes, Jagai and Madhai. And another villager added, do you know who they are? Previously, they were pious Brahmanas, born in Brahmin families. But because of bad association, now they slaughter animals, they eat their flesh, drink their blood, they set houses to fire, they kill babies, they spoil sacrificial fire by dropping abominable substances into it. They are always intoxicated with liquor. And they have all sorts of illicit sexual relations. There is nobody more filthy and fallen than these two. Now they are famous as being the dacoits in Navadvip by the name Jagai and Madhai. And nobody goes close to them because they can murder you. As soon as Nityananda Prabhu, the embodiment of compassion, heard this, his eyes went wide. It just dilated. And in total ecstatic love, he said, they are the recipients of Gauranga's mercy. He told Haridas, do you see this? Only if they become devotees, the whole of Navadvip will recognize Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the deliverer of the most fallen. Oh Haridas, now people hate them. Even if they step on their shadow, they jump into the Ganga to purify themselves. But if we can simply make them devotees, people in this whole village will come and take their darshan as if they are Ganga personified. Oh Haridas, do you remember when the Mughals were whipping you in 22 marketplaces? You were the one who prayed for them. Please pray, oh Haridas, that these two dacoits, Jagai and Madhai, let them become the recipients of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Haridas Thakur smiled and he said, oh Nityananda, you're so merciful. Simply by your thought, they are delivered. Now just the formalities left. They are already delivered because you decided to deliver them. Then they approached. Nityananda and Haridas, taking one step at a time, they approached these two drunkards. And how were they? They were intoxicated. Eyes rolling in intoxication. Torn clothes. They were pulling each other's hair. They had blood all over their face. And they were having meat in their hand. And liquor bottle. And laughing. And sometimes crying. And sometimes punching each other. Sometimes kicking each other. Sometimes singing songs. Sometimes rolling on the ground. Total material intoxicated madness. So Nityananda Prabhu approached both of them. He said, dear brothers, we have heard of your unlimited glories. We know how great you are. You're born in Brahminical families. You're worshipable to everyone. But I just have one request. Dante nidaya trinakam padayor nipatya kakushatam kritva cha aham bhavimi he sadava sakalameva vihaya dhurat chaitanya chandra charane kurutanuraga. My only request, O Jagadananda and Madhavananda, after knowing all your glories, is that give up your nonsense and surrender to Chaitanya. Please worship Krishna, chant the names of Krishna. O Jagai and Madhai, why are you living this sinful life? Don't you fear the reactions? You will be destroyed by these reactions. Please worship Krishna. Now is still, there is still time. Please rectify and worship Krishna. And these two semi-intoxicated or partial or complete intoxicated drunkards, they were looking at each other and with eyes rolling and hot like coal, with mouths spitting fire. They said, how dare you advise me? Don't you know how great I am? And you still come and you counsel me? Catch them, kill them. And Jagai and Madhai started running behind Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas as if to take their life. And Nityananda and Haridas, they started running. And Jagai and Madai started running, and Haridas started running, and Nityananda started running, and they were laughing. This was like an adventure for Nityananda and Haridas, because never had they approached somebody so dangerous. And Jagai and Madai were running. And while running, Haridas Thakur said, "You're a madman, Nityananda, you're a madman. How merciful can anybody be? You go to drunkards and you give them Krishna prema, you're impossible." And Nityananda started laughing and he said, "Why do you call me a madman? The personality who gave us this instruction of preaching in every door and every village, he's the madman. Like a king, he sits at his place and he orders, give everybody Krishna prema, give everybody love of God without any discrimination. Nobody in past, present and future ever did, is doing or will do it." Indirectly, Nityananda was glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's coming and giving his mercy like no incarnation has ever given. Parama karuna pahu dui jana nitai gaura chandra. They started running, and Jagai and Madai started chasing, and they were so fat and hefty and so intoxicated and filthy that after some time they lost the chase. And they were angry. They had to hit somebody. They couldn't find Nityananda and Haridas, so they looked at each other and they started punching each other. They had to punch somebody. And in the middle of the marketplace, they started pulling each other's hair and tearing their clothes and punching and kicking and Hare Krishna. A different ball game. And by then Haridas and Nityananda Prabhu went and they spoke all this to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was at the house of Srivas, with Srivas Pandit and Gangadas on either side. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "They are Brahmins, Brahmanas, and this is how they behave. I feel like cutting them into pieces with my Sudarshan Chakra." Nityananda Prabhu told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is the purpose of Kalki Avatar. Why are you acting in that mood? You have come to deliver everyone who's fallen. And in Kali Yuga, you're going to find everybody like this. Nityananda Prabhu said something very significant. He said, in Kali Yuga, everybody is a Jagai Madhai. Some are big Jagai Madhais, some are medium Jagai Madhais, and some are small Jagai Madhais. In Satya Yuga, the good and bad were in two different planets. Example, Hiranyaksha and Varaha. Two different planets. In Treta Yuga, good and bad were in the same planet but in different countries. Ramchandra from India and Ravana from Sri Lanka. In Dwapar Yuga, good and bad were in the same planet, in the same country, in the same family. Pandavas and Kauravas. And in Kali Yuga, the most degraded age, it is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Prayena alpayusha sabhya kalau asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayor manda bhagya rupadrita. Where everybody is fallen, everybody is disturbed, everybody is slow, everybody is unfortunate, and they are lazy and less intelligent. In such an age, good and bad are in the same planet, in the same country, in the same family, and in fact in the same person. So there is Jagai and Madhai in all our consciousness. The degree might vary. So Nityananda Prabhu told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everybody in Kali Yuga is Jagai and Madhai. Would you go out killing everyone? Please give their bodies to me. Let me serve. Let me try once more. You don't take action. Please relax. I know you're Vishnu. You can invoke the Sudarshan Chakra anytime you want, but this is not the time. Please relax. Let me serve. And when they were speaking like this, Haridas Thakur, who was completely horrified with this experience of Jagai and Madhai chasing him, because he was like a simple sadhu, sitting in the caves and chanting Harinam. He started speaking to Advaita Acharya as if he's complaining, but he was glorifying. He said, do you know what is the experience of being with Nityananda on traveling Sankirtan? He jumps into the Ganga, which is infested with crocodiles. He puts his hand into their mouth and sometimes plays with their tail. This Nityananda sometimes goes running behind small children with a stick. And the children go up to their home and the father comes out to punish, and Nityananda is nowhere and I am suffering. And sometimes he goes to young girls and he asks them, will you marry me? And the girls run home and complain to their father. The father comes with a whipping stick and Nityananda is no more and I get the beating. And sometimes Nityananda, he will milk the cows, drink all their milk, and go and tell the milkman that Haridas has drunk all the milk. And this is nothing. Today, he went to the most dangerous, notorious Jagai and Madhai, and he almost killed me. I didn't fear so much even when I was whipped in 22 marketplaces. I was saved then, but I was sure today I'm going to die. Advaitacharya smiled and he said, yes, madmen like to hang out with other madmen. This Nityananda is so intoxicated in pure love that he hangs out with others who are intoxicated in some way or the other. There is nobody like Nityananda. And he smiled and he said, but Haridas, I promise you today, because Nityananda thought of delivering Jagai and Madai, very soon these two nefarious, notorious goons will be dancing amongst us, raising their arms and loudly chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went onto the banks of Ganga, on the bathing ghat. And Jagai and Madhai were camping there that day. And that is very close to the house of Srivas Pandit, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing and chanting and dancing. So as Gauranga Mahaprabhu went close to Jagai and Madhai, he was not afraid, but that is a very dangerous situation, because people then, they didn't venture to go close to Jagai and Madhai, because Jagai and Madhai could do anything. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went close to them, and Jagai and Madhai looked at Chaitanya and said, can you teach us that song that you were singing in Srivas' house in praise of Durga? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't even respond, because that was not in praise of Durga, that was in praise of Krishna. That evening, something very interesting happened, which is narrated forever. It is a historic narration. Are we all ready? Yes? Haribol. Yes, sir. That evening, Nityananda Prabhu exactly went to the lane where Jagai and Madhai were shouting. They were again in their semi-clad, ill-clad, semi-drunk, intoxicated situation, with filthy words filling their mouth and eyes rolling in total intoxication. Nityananda Prabhu went close to them and said, Jagai and Madhai, please understand, I beg you at your feet. You are part and parcel of Krishna. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. And the only way the soul can be happy is by reconnecting with Krishna. You cannot find happiness in this world. Please reconnect to Krishna and chant his holy names. As soon as Nityananda Prabhu said this, Madhai lost his cool. He was drinking liquor from a half-broken clay pot. And as soon as he heard Nityananda Prabhu's preaching for the second time, he lost his cool. It is described, when you give milk to the snake, all that happens is its poison increases. Nityananda Prabhu was giving the most eternal instruction as the ever well-wishing friend. And Madhai took that half-broken liquor clay pot and smashed on the forehead of Nityananda. And that Nityananda, whose body is completely transcendental, who's beyond the three modes, he who's the source of all sources, He who's the supreme personality of Godhead, who was falling on his hands and legs begging out of mercy, he started bleeding profusely. There was blood all over his face. There was cut all over his face, just above his eyebrow, and it was drenching his clothes. Madhai looked at Nityananda, and Nityananda smiled looking at Madhai, and he said something very interesting. He said, the pain that you're inflicting on yourself by not being Krishna conscious is way more than the pain that you've just inflicted on me. Oh Madhai, I again fall at your feet. Please take to this process of chanting. And Madhai lost his cool again, and he picked up another pot. How dare you? You continue preaching, you nonsense? And Jagai, his heart melted. He stopped Madhai and he said, don't you see? Don't you see? He's so merciful. There's no saint, there's no renunciant ever who has approached us like this. And you slam him, you hit him, and he still continues to smile and lovingly, compassionately help you. Please, Madhai, don't hit him. He's our friend. And by then, this news reached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rushed to this spot. He rushed to this spot. As soon as he realized that his dear servant Nityananda was bleeding, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rushed to this spot. Looking at Jagai and Madhai into their eyes, he said, I am the supreme personality of Godhead. Yama, the god of death, he dances at my feet. Lord Shiva, the Lord of destruction, he is my servant. And anyone who criticizes, who blasphemes, and people like you who insult and cause harm physically to my devotees, such people will see me as death personified. And in this mood, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invoked his Sudarshan Chakra. And Sudarshan Chakra was spinning faster than anything else, ready to cut the head of Madhai. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had decided to separate the head of Madhai from his body, Sri Nityananda Prabhu fell at the feet of Gauranga. And he said, Oh Mahaprabhu, please take your Sudarshan Chakra back. In fact, let me tell you, they didn't hit me. They were trying to throw it somewhere else. And by mistake, it hit me. But it didn't hurt me. Look, I'm smiling. Nothing happened to me. Gauranga said, you're bleeding, oh Nitai. And Nityananda said, oh Mahaprabhu, I beg you, if in any of my lives ever I have served you in any capacity, in return, I ask you only one benediction. Please forgive them. Let all their sins come to me, and let all my good deeds go to them. You may punish me, but uplift them. This is my only desire. An insignificant, infinitesimal jiva throws a clay pot and hurts the Supreme Lord, because of whom his very existence is possible. And that Supreme Lord, out of mercy, he begs for his life. This has never happened. When Surpanaga attacked, Lakshmana cut her nose and ears. When Pralambasura attacked, Balaram broke open his head. When Dhenukasura attacked, Balaram threw him into the tal trees. But when Madhai attacked, Nityananda Prabhu begged for his forgiveness. Begged for his life. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he looked at Madhai, and then Nityananda continued. He said, in fact, my Lord, it was Jagai who saved my life. Madhai tried to attack again, and Jagai came and rescued me and protected me. Gauranga heard this, and he called Jagai. He said, you protected my Nityananda? You protected my greatest devotee? Today, in front of everyone as witness, I bless you with eternal love of God. He who was the most fallen few minutes ago now starts becoming the greatest devotee. He approached the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Jagai, and Jagai started trembling, horripilating. He was shivering, and tears coming down his eyes, and hair standing on end. His teeth started chattering. His throat started faltering. And in this mood of pure love, he was chanting the names of Krishna. Seeing this, Madhai fell at the feet of Gauranga, and he said, Jagai and I, we always sinned together. All the sins, we were team partners. And now you uplift him and you give him pure love of God. Please protect me too. Gauranga said, impossible. I will never give you mercy. If you really want mercy, fall at the feet of Nityananda and beg for his mercy. Anyone who hurts me, criticizes me, might get my mercy. But anyone who offends my devotee, forget it. Mad Bhakta Pujya Vyadika. The worship of my devotee is greater than my worship. Madhai fell at the feet of Nityananda, and in the first go, Nityananda smiled and he picked him up and he said, promise me that you will never sin again. Because you never committed Vaishnava Aparad, because you never met Vaishnavas, and you never committed Nam Aparad, because you never chanted the holy name, I forgive you. And as soon as Jagai and Madhai were forgiven and embraced by Chaitanya and Nityananda, the devotees loudly said, Haribol! And this Jagai and Madhai, in the association of devotees in their assembly, started jumping and dancing and chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So on this most auspicious day, the appearance of Nityananda, we bow down to that embodiment of mercy. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.